Well, what is happening, Marvel fans? Welcome back to the channel. I am DL, and it's another edition of my podcast, and we are getting back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, I'm late. So what? We're talking about it now. But yeah, so for those of you who are new, we talk about everything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe already. Like it's been like years of videos already. Covered everything from the first Iron Man up until what was the last one?
What most recent MCU thing?
Well,
The
yeah,
Falcon and the Soldier, right?
Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that was the last
Hmm.
one I did. Yes. So yeah, we have a bunch of videos for those. If you guys haven't seen them, I'll leave a link in the description below to a playlist called MCU. But today we are talking about Loki. um, I know, yeah, like I said, I know we're late. It's been a minute. We were trying to get this out earlier, but life gets in the way, scheduling conflicts. I personally, I just started a new job, so I've been trying to get sorted with schedules and stuff like that. So sorry that it took so long, but hey, we are here. But joining with me today, I have fellow YouTuber, the Kosan Nation.
What's up? We're gonna talk about mischief.
We sure are. And also joining with us, we have Beefalo.
Hello. I also go by Spamerai on Twitter.
Cool.
I think it's my first Marvel cast with you guys.
I think so. Pretty cool. Oh, error on my part. The last Marvel review we did was Black Widow. My apologies. But yeah, we covered everything up till Black Widow. So if you want to check that out, go ahead check that out on my channel. That goes to show how memorable that movie was. But anyway, moving on.
I forgot to watch that film.
Mm-hmm. It's free on Disney Plus now. So, but so this
If I
is gonna
remember
be.
to watch it, I'll watch
Sorry, say it again.
it. If I remember it exists, I'll watch it.
So yeah, this is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion since it's been out for a while. So we're going to talk about every detail about all the episodes. So if you guys haven't seen it, I would say go watch it. That's on Disney Plus as well. Obviously, go ahead and watch that and come back and listen to this. Or if you guys don't care about spoilers, go ahead and listen on. But so I'm gonna be that guy. I did not want this show at all. I was pretty mad when they announced this actually because I'm getting irritated with how much they're using Loki in the MCU, and even more irritated about how much he comes back from the dead. Like I'm just really annoyed. I know he's a really popular character in the MCU, and everyone loves Tom Hiddleston. I understand that. I really like him too. I think he's a great Loki. I think he's one of the best, or he was one of the best villains in the MCU. I don't even know if we can call him a villain now. He's more like an anti-hero, which okay, sure. But I personally just got sick of seeing him everywhere, and I just wanted the character to just rest. But no, they don't want to. They just want to get more out of this character as much as they can. They just want to squeeze him dry. So I'm like, okay, fine. So my anticipation for this show was really, really low. Though apparently I'm in the minority because everyone else was just really excited about this show, and I'm like, okay, all right, well, to each his own, I guess. The marketing for this show looked okay, I guess. There was nothing that really blew me away about it. And then they're doing this whole thing. Oh, there's this stuff with the time variance authority. So he's going to be dealing with different timelines and stuff like that, which I guess makes sense because coming off of Endgame, that's pretty much the reason why we have this show, because this Loki is from a different timeline, really coming off of the end of the first Avengers movie when he stole the Tesseract when the Avengers were trying to take all the Infinity Stones from different timelines. The Hulk from 2012 messed up the timeline and made it so Loki could take the Tesseract and transport somewhere else. So I'm like, oh, okay. That was the one thing I was annoyed when I saw that in Endgame. I'm like, oh god, he's coming back. He's coming back. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, and look, here we are. So I didn't know what to expect with this, with the whole timeline stuff. I know that they're slowly trying to introduce the multiverse stuff. So I guess this will be another one of those shows that's trying to, put their foot in the door with that. WandaVision was kind of trying to do that. It slightly did, but then it slightly didn't. So I was like, oh, okay, so we'll see. So regarding my thoughts, so WandaVision, like I personally thought, WandaVision had a really good start and a very weak ending. And then with Falcon and Winter Soldier, I thought it had a very weak beginning, but it had a strong ending. With this, I feel like it's the best of the live action series we got from Marvel so far. So I did enjoy this more than the previous two, but I'm not loving this. I'm not. I wasn't blown away by it. There's some good moments in this show. Not saying it's bad. It's just the whole time I'm feeling like this show is really trying to, justify its existence. It really just feels like this show is created so they can figure out a way to introduce the multiverse. Not so much of, we have more stories to tell with Loki himself, because I don't feel like they evolved his character that much. Okay, let me be fair. They did slightly. Like, they did give him a more dynamic. That's why he feels more like an anti-hero in this, and he feels more compelling. So I get that. But like, I don't know. It just, not this movie, it's this show. But this show just feels forced to me. I did enjoy it mildly, but I'm just like, it's not a show that I would revisit over and over again. But that's how I feel.
Yeah, so when I first heard about it, when I hear about things from like either Marvel or Star Wars or really any of the other, I guess, third-party IPs that like Disney owns now, I always approach it like cautiously optimistic, like just with a blank mind. But I honestly, when I heard that Loki was getting his own show, I wasn't sure what to expect. Just as I wasn't sure what to expect when I heard that there was a Black Widow movie being made. And, then seeing the first trailer or like the first little promotional material for it that was showing that it was going to be following the version of Loki that picked up the Tesseract, I was kind of interested in that. I was wondering, like, okay, is it going to be like an alternate version of events where they just follow Loki, like what he would have done if he escaped that day, how he would have turned out, or are they going to be exploring something entirely different? And, they ended up exploring something entirely different, and I was very happy about that, especially once, seeing the trailers and seeing what was actually going to be happening in that series, even though they didn't really give too much away in the trailers that I saw, at least. But no, thoughts on it overall, I liked it. Tom Hiddleston is always, a treat to watch. All the different twists and turns that were in the series were, maybe fantastic isn't the appropriate term, but it was definitely great. It's definitely, like you said, my favorite thing as far as like series that they've put out for Marvel so far. But no, overall, I really liked it, and I was a little hyped up in anticipation for it after seeing, the initial promotional material and everything. So yeah.
Okay. All right, Beef, tell us, what are your thoughts on Loki?
All right, so I actually really wanted to hate this show. Like, I was on Tumblr when like Tom Hiddleston had like hit peak popularity. I was very much over Loki as a character, and I enjoy him as like a one scene wonder type of deal. So for me, I was like, you're giving a character who really needs to be used very sparingly an entire show dedicated to like their growth and their like their arcs, and I was frustrated with this premise. Like I really did come into this not excited. I wanted to dislike the show a lot, but I ended up liking it quite a bit. Out of this Marvel live action series, I have to say that WandaVision is still my favorite, because I think I have a penchant like for liking more dramatic storytelling, and that one has the most like interesting ideas, playing with some of the timeline stuff and playing with some of the constructed reality like concepts and adapting a storyline that people thought would never get adapted. I think that like I really appreciated that about WandaVision. Winter Soldier, I think was great too. I just don't have much to commentate on that one. I liked the themes and messages that show had quite a bit. And Loki is my least favorite of the 3 Marvel series, but it's still, I think, like a great show. I really was caught off guard by like what they ended up doing with the show. I actually did find myself pleasantly surprised, because I got fed up with some of this like the meta narrative themes that come up in the show quite a bit, and some of the writing felt way too on the nose. And I had a little bit of a couple issues with some of the like world design. But once we get to Sylvie as a character and like her thing with Loki, I really fell for the show. I wasn't ready for it to pull me in all the way, but by episode 3, I ended up letting go of a lot of the misgivings I had with the premise. Like, completely ended up enjoying this for what it was. And I'm really glad it came in very cynical with the show, because it ended up paying off, because I tried to be more critical than normal, and it ended up bouncing back, and ended up appreciating a lot of the nuanced and like interesting thematic and background details this show throws in to support itself. I think this show justifies its existence because there needs to be some way to explain the multiple timelines in Marvel films now. And while I like that it does that, and I have issues with how the show goes about exploring some of its themes, I really enjoyed what this package was as a whole. I really did end up liking it.
Okay. Well, I guess what I first want to talk about is the look of the show. I think the cinematography is really, really good in this show. I really like the set design, the effects, the green screen. I forget, it's not exactly green screen that they're using. It's like a similar thing they use with the Mandalorian when they're making environments. What's it like? Something stage, something. Forget what it's called, but it's a more evolved version of green screens, where they're actually able to make the environments more make it a little bit more tangible than a green screen.
Yeah, you're talking about that thing they did with like the practical sets.
Yeah.
With the it's like a projector for the background. It's pretty cool. I forget what it's called as well. But...
Yeah. So I would say on that level, I feel like this is probably the most creative they've done with the series shows overall. Loki, okay, Tom Hiddleston as Loki himself is really good. I don't think I have too much to elaborate with him acting wise. Of course, he's going to be great. I guess I eventually was on board with him becoming more of a sympathetic character, even though I really love him as a villain. But ever since Thor: The Dark World, that was the direction they were going to head into, just him becoming an anti-hero, which is fine. It's like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. She's not fully a villain. She feels like an anti-hero at this point. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, I did end up enjoying him a lot. I am like I said before, I still was in the back of my mind, I was still a bit upset that they, that this is not like the evolved Loki we've gotten up until Infinity War. This is the Loki that we're getting up until Avengers 1. So some of that development that was there with the movies after that is not here with him. But I did feel like for the most part, they still made it work. It's just, just having to deal with that contrived thing in Endgame with him getting the Tesseract. Like, okay, that's fine. So the main thing I wanted to like get into right away is because it's on my mind is the whole thing with time variance authority. So I don't know that much about the TVA from the comics. As I said, like my knowledge up until this point with Marvel, it's kind of getting gray because, like, as I said, with Marvel, it's really for me mainly been with Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Hulk, with some stuff with Avengers here and there, but I don't know everything about it. Like the Eternals, Shang-Chi, all that stuff. I'm like, okay, yep, it's starting to become gray with me. TVA is one of them. Um, I That's probably the main thing I was really frustrated with this show. For me personally, I feel like the TVA doesn't make any sense.
I have to agree with that. Yeah.
Like, because when you're taking into account all of the most powerful objects, the most powerful beings in Marvel, and it feels like they're all trying to compete with each other with what's the most powerful, what sets the rules of, each timeline and multiverse, all that stuff starts to get muddled. And then also getting to the fact that what if just came out, and then we're dealing with the Watchers that look over timelines as well, and we're about to get Eternals and with the Celestials and stuff like that. And so maybe things will start to clear up by the time Eternals comes out. But TVA, their whole system is just so strange to me. So this TVA is there to make sure that, what they call variants, which are, I guess beings from their own timeline that muddles with their own timeline. And so they're there to make sure that variants don't mess with stuff they're not supposed to in the timeline. So what really confuses me is how do they determine what's supposed to be in the timeline and what's not?
I think that got answered. Well, with He Who Remains answers that question. He is the one who is like, this is acceptable amount of variation here. He's the one that he's the one that's like choreographing all of this. So he's the one that allows for this timeline to branch off here because he knows in the end it's going to come back to him. And so I think that does answer that question, as frustrating of an answer as that is. My gripes with TVA come from a little bit of that, where I'm like, this is a time cop agency. It actually ties to the set design. One of my critiques I have against the show, as much as I like the design and like the structure of the TVA, my big question is, if this is supposed to be a super futuristic, so advanced, so beyond comprehension, why are they running a very human-looking facility with very human-looking machines as as the base? I think they could have gone for something more imaginative.
I like
the aesthetic. I love how it looks, and I love how the TVA runs. I like that. The idea of cockroaches or time police are very fascinating to me. I love short stories that explore those ideas, but I'm just most of the devices and setup and establishing shots and all that, all the set design is very retro looking, faux retro objects. And while it's good for the viewer to get what they're handling, I was just frustrated because I was like, you're telling me you couldn't design a faster way to navigate these things? Or you're telling me you couldn't design a faster, as cute of a scene as Mobius and Loki shuffling through files was, I was frustrated by the fact that you wouldn't need that conceptually because we have technology now that surpasses that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find some of those weird... They broke the immersion for me, and then I started asking more questions of the TVA on a conceptual level, which leads to me feeling probably how you're feeling, where I was just, they don't make much sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not a lot of consistency logically for me with these guys, but I had to swallow that pill for me to get through the rest of the series because if I kept asking and nitpicking every question, I would be stuck all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of that, Well, I'll start with like just the TVA's existence. Yeah, like I agree. It doesn't exactly make much sense to me, especially when you consider What If. Like when Loki was announced, we knew that What If was going to be a thing, and after seeing that first episode and seeing, okay, well they purge these alternate timelines, then it's like, okay, then why does What If even exist? Because these by that extent, like these timelines should be considered variants. That is a variant of Doctor Strange. That is a variant of Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
So they therefore, by that logic, should be purged. So that part didn't make sense to me, and I that explanation for it is frustrating. But like I get it, but I also don't get it. Then kind of piggybacking off of like your point about the aesthetic. Like I agree. It is kind of odd that like a time traveling agency would kind of go for that kind of aesthetic that strikes me more as something that you would probably find in like a Fallout series or something like that. But, but like at the same time, I get it, because with the spoilers, but with the like thought of keeping these people aware of the fact they're from like different points in time or anything like that, it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't make anything too technological, because then maybe that deters them from trying to use these like dial-up machines to try to look further into it. I don't know entirely, but no, the fact that they wouldn't be running some like Men in Black kind of operation is a little off-putting.
I saw it other thing too, where I'm like, it's like, because these people have no memories of where they came from and stuff. Because that's the crux, is that they're just, so these people that are all variants that were pulled from like the quantum event that like they stemmed from, that work here now, all of them being variants with no memories. I'm like, you really could have done anything with like the setup of this place, because these are moldable people. You're molding them to whatever your environment is, and I would think could do something a bit more efficient than classical file folder shuffling.
Yeah.
Or I think you could do something a bit more efficient than like a courtroom.
Yeah. That's another thing that doesn't make any sense too, is the fact that all the people working there are variants, and it's like, okay, your mission is to purge variants. Like, what? Wait, but
yeah.
The TVA doesn't need to have infinite employees. I mean, maybe they should. If they operated like an actually alien agency, they probably could have infinite use for this endless pool of labor.
Right, but then with the workers being variants, it's like that poses the question: okay, which variants do you or do you not, prune?
Exactly, and then
it's like a recommendation thing where they're just like, "Yo, this guy's really cool from this timeline. Can we keep him?"
But but at the same time, that would be more something that I forget what their names are, but the people that would like look over everything would decide, really, because all the employees have no memories of being from those timelines.
You talking about the timekeepers?
Yeah, timekeepers. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, those are robots.
Right. But like
Yeah.
in like their hierarchy that they have established, that's.
And then is another nitpick. Okay, like how are all the variants in the TVA humans? There's not one alien in the TVA.
They practice species discrimination at the TVA.
Right. You never know. There could be a scroll over there. They're just disguising themselves as a human.
Massive xenophobia. But I do want to say something though in favor of the TVA. Actually, if we zoom out from like internal logic, which the show doesn't seem to like, it tries to maintain it, but I don't think it does the best job. From a thematic element, like to scale this out for me, the TVA makes perfect sense if you're trying to write a story about how you can't fight fate, because they're meant to be they're essentially meant to be the rod that punishes those who happen to step out of line. So I really liked that the TVA do exist to maintain continuity by force. I liked that was that's the whole setting and crux of this, is that these are the people that cause fate to unfold the way it does, and they want you to stick to that. Like, I liked how Mobius talks to Loki. It is like, all of you Lokis are the same. And I think of those bits where I'm like, okay, the TVA acting like this does make sense, because you're trying to tell this theme about like what it means to be a static character in a dynamic world. I like the TVA for that purpose. And I think that's what they I think when I think about it like that, like thinking thematically, I think that's what they put more of their effort into when it came to setting this up than into the actual logic of this place.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, some things with the TVA does turn around for me kind of from a thematic level, specifically with Loki. But yeah, just when I'm trying to think of the bigger picture, because that's what Marvel wants you to do, think of the bigger picture. It's like things just start to fall apart slightly. Another thing with the TVA that kind of bothered me is how they neutralize abilities in their world. Okay, there's one little nitpick thing nobody talks about. If it neutralizes everyone's powers, Loki should be blue right now. He's a frost giant, and he camouflages himself with his magic. So his magic should have been neutralized, and he should turn back to a frost giant.
I never even thought about that. Yeah, no, he should have just been a CGI giant ice monster that entire time.
Man, you couldn't cast Tom Hiddleston as that then. There'd be no
That's
point.
true. That's the only reason why they didn't do it, because that would cost money.
Yeah.
That would be such a cost-saving measure. It's Loki, but it's not the Loki that you like.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, they probably would have just had to put him in a mocap suit and go from there. But
Vision Part 2.
Right.
And then I got into debates with people about this, about how the Infinity Stones are useless in their world. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. These are the most powerful objects in the multiverse. They're multiversal, so they should void anything from any world. So just to see them up in a drawer and they're paperweights, what they call them. It just it doesn't really seem consistent. If they're like multiversal objects, like I don't know, that's just stretching it.
Like I get the logic, but at the same time, I don't like, you know, their whole reasoning. Oh, it's from different timelines, yada yada yada. You know, in this zone they don't. But at the same time, you know, I feel like they should still have some sort of ability and some sort of purpose. Because I mean, you know, you see them in Endgame when they take stones from different, you know, timelines essentially, and it's. I don't know. Like the logic behind it makes sense to me, but it also doesn't make sense to me.
Well, for me, I think for me, it's like once I swallow that the whole point of TVA, the stone's not working, is that against all logic, they don't work. It's literally because that's where I feel like the theme of the show was more important than the internal logic, because the point is it's what the author picks and decides. It's what the writers pick and decide. So the fact that they didn't work doesn't make sense in universe, because that's the whole point, is that it's the writers / the timekeepers or the he who remains that determine the rules. So whether or like your consistency just doesn't matter here. I get to bend the rules however I want to bend the rules. And that's when I accepted that pill really fast, because I was like, yeah, I already could tell the show was going for when I first watched the first episode, I was like, oh, that's a little weird. They should even knowing that the Infinity Stones together can't be like wielded without blowing yourself up if you're not strong enough, which is what I thought about. I was like, you kind of need a gauntlet and a Thanos or a Tony Stark willing to sacrifice himself to even use all of these at once. So I'm like, it would be functionally in this place, if they're all separated like that, useless to somebody who doesn't know how to even capitalize on that. So I bought that, and that was my first. I was like, okay, this makes sense a little bit. And then when I realized, oh, the whole point is that it's the god of this universe literally is like, this shit just doesn't work. I don't care about your rules because these are my rules now. And that's what happens when you go into the TVA. You're just not abiding by common rule. So that's why I wasn't too bothered by that continuity wise, because I was just like, yeah. And a lot of the show can be justified by that, but that's where I'm kind of like, I try to be very pointed about what I pick on, where I'm like, the set design, it can be one thing for me, because I'm just like, that, even if you do rule the universe, you could come up with way cooler shit to do. But on the other hand, the Infinity Stones, yeah, those not working makes sense to me. I can buy that.
Right.
Yeah, I just ended up, just like you, I just had to swallow that pill and just go along with it. So I was like, okay, fine, let's see where this goes.
Right. Where are you going with this?
Right. Okay, so enough backing on the TVA. So let's talk about some more of the characters. Owen Wilson is Mobius. He was really good in this show. I gotta start calling it a movie, even though it feels like a 4-hour movie, but 4 or 6-hour movie. But anyway, I thought, yeah, Owen Wilson was really good in this show. I did not expect for him to be in a Marvel property, but you know, they're really good at getting some really good talent for some of these movies and shows. Like I never expected Angelina Jolie to be in a Marvel film, but she's about to be. So it's nuts.
I really went, wow. When I saw Owen Wilson, it's just like, hello. Didn't expect to see you here.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think he did great as Mobius. I think some of his scenes where he tried, because I really liked the buddy cop dynamic between him and Loki quite a bit, and I like the performance he gave for that, where he comes off as sympathetic sometimes, but then you can tell he's disappointed. It's like he gave a very firm dad energy to his role. And I appreciated that. And I appreciated that you could tell he wants to, like, he does a great job playing the dramatic tension of wanting to trust somebody who's inherently untrustworthy and like trying to create a consistency for somebody who's inherently going to break that consistency. I really enjoyed that performance from him.
Like he's like the only character that really brought something. Well, other than Sylvie, which we'll get to her later. But like,
Sylvie? What?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he was one of the few characters in the show that really brought something out of Loki emotionally. Like I remember in the first episode when he's like questioning them and stuff like that, and then they're showing like the files from his world with the first Avengers and stuff like that, and then questioning him of like, why does he enjoy hurting people and stuff like that? And it's like really, you know, breaking down like why he thinks the way he thinks and feels the way he feels. And we got a little bit of, actually quite a bit of vulnerability from Loki because of that. And then in the later episodes when when they put him in a revolving prison of Sif. Oh, I'm so happy they brought Sif back. I'm so happy. But yeah, they put him in this prison where Sif is like, it keeps doing that memory of when Loki cut a piece of her hair off, and then she walks in and like kicks him with the nuts or whatever, walks away. Eventually got some really good emotional moments from there with Loki as well. So really liked Owen, and he didn't suffer from the typical Owen Wilson isms we see in his like other movies, like his comedies and stuff like that. Like we don't get a wow and all this stuff, the cliche like inflection that we get from him. Oh God, please don't bring up cars. But but yeah, like yeah, we just really liked his performance in this. Okay, so Gugu and Batra as Ravonna, one of the main people of the TVA. I actually didn't like her in this show.
It's a quick clarification question. She's the one that's like at the end of the show, where she like when she like almost is explaining everything, she ignores him and like still she's the one that puts Loki and Sylvie and all of them in that void place. I forgot what is the term that they use.
Yeah, the that place, yeah,
place, yeah,
with where the other Lokis are, yeah, the place where all the other Lokis are, yeah, she's the one that she's telling Mobius throughout the entire show, you shouldn't trust Loki, like this is a bad idea, blah 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 blah, yeah, her. So yeah, I didn't like her in the show, and I'm actually
prune. That's the word, prune.
Huh?
That was the word I was looking for. Prune. She's one that prunes people.
The prunes people, yes, for sure. And I'm a big fan of Gugu, man. I like her in pretty much everything up until this point. Like she was just so much of a prune. It was annoying. I don't know. There's not much to her character either. She's just the strict boss and nothing more. So I was actually disappointed in that. I mean, she served the purpose, because you had to have at least one person from the TVA that's, just stuck in their ways and whatever. So I guess fine, but she just ended up creating more obstacles in the show that wasn't necessary, especially when it's revealed that the timekeepers aren't real. Like that should be like an awakening for her, at least a slight awakening for her, that, you know, what she's been believing up to this point was a lie. But no, she's still being a prune after that for some reason. That just really frustrated me. I don't have anything wrong with, there's nothing wrong with her performance per se. She acted good, but it's just, I just did not care for how she was written. And then okay, I might say her name wrong. One Mi Mosaku as Hunter B-15. So she's like the main officer. She was solid.
Yeah, no, she was good.
Pretty much she is what Ravonna should have been, honestly. Like, because she starts out as a prune as well, you know, strict in her ways, but then when stuff starts getting revealed that, you know, things aren't how it seems in the TVA, she ends up, you know, opening her eyes and, you know, ended up becoming an ally with Loki and Sylvie and stuff like that. So I ended up enjoying her character as well.
So the prune, by the way, is specifically for like when people get like, prune is also a good word to describe Ravonna, because she is like, that is a good insult. But I mean, I meant that as like that was the word they use whenever they put someone away, like delete them.
Oh, that's the word. Okay.
That was the word I was looking for, where they put them into that.
And like limbo.
Yeah, the limbo dimension. They send them there.
The Shadow Realm.
See, they could have thought of much more interesting names for that world instead of the prune. Like, I literally thought that's what you were describing, Ravonna.
Yeah, no. Tampa, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Damn. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry to all you Tampa viewers.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Floridian. Take this L.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
About her real fast. Like, so Ravonna's character, I think that, yeah, she was, I think the writing with her was, like, as you pointed out, like, Dwayne, it's just, they really didn't give her much to work with. Like, that actress really didn't have a lot to operate with, because none of the things about her character were particularly intriguing to me. She didn't feel that well developed. But Hunter B-15 was great.
Oh, yeah.
I was, you're right when you say that I think she should have been. And I think, like, just a more interesting arc from her, because she actually is, like, more malleable to the world, is really good. I liked that. And I get why Ravonna's there. She's supposed to be this, like, because it's, whenever you have, like, a bureaucratic setting, you need a character who is just gonna maintain order, even if the boss is dead and it's revealed your life's a hollow lie. There's no other way she can articulate and understand the world. So I get why she's like that. But you're right, it's a period. It's absolutely a period.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then just to make sure I'm talking about the right person, Ramona was the one that was like friends with like Owen Wilson's character, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like they started to develop her a little bit, like when you had the initial like capture of Loki, and you kind of saw that like bonding between her and Owen Wilson's character, and you know, then after that whole confrontation with the timekeepers, it just kind of became a little more one-dimensional at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, Hunter B-15 was amazing. I liked her.
Yeah. Okay, so we're ready to talk about her. Let's talk about Sylvie, played by
best girl.
Sophia Di Martino. She was really good. I really liked her up until a point, but we'll get to that when we get there. But yeah, I really enjoyed her. I did not expect I did not expect her reveal actually, because when they were establishing that the variant they were sending Loki to after was himself, I'm like, okay, interesting. Okay, we're gonna face another clone of Loki. Seems a bit lazy, but we'll see how they execute it. And then the whole time, like in the beginning, they keep hiding this variant in a hood or whatever, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. So it's already revealed that it's a variant of Loki. So why are they being so mysterious with this variant? Why is this person in the hood the whole time? And then when it's revealed that it's a woman, I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Can I may I make a funny story real fast here about this exact thing? So when I saw Loki in the hood, I thought the twist was going to be that it's the real world, like Norse mythology based Loki. Like, like I thought it was just going to be like actual Loki, like at least of course both Loki. If a Loki appears in Marvel, it becomes a Marvel Loki. But I thought it was going to be no. This Loki is like real world mythology Loki. So get ready for some raw things to happen. But
yeah, up the rating a bit.
Yeah, I was like, here we go. But no, it was Sylvie, and I'll let you finish with what you're going to say. But I just wanted to interject with the funny story of like I got tricked as well.
I'm sure all the God of War fans were waiting for that. Like, oh, an authentic Loki, yeah.
Boy.
Man, but yeah, like, so what I really liked about Sylvie is she didn't just feel like another clone of Loki. She felt like her own character. Like, if you told me this wasn't Loki, I wouldn't have suspected anything, So she has her own personality, her own individuality, the way she thinks. There are certain elements that feel similar to Loki, to which it would be expected. But I just like that they were able to just make her own character, while us knowing that she is a variant of Loki. And it's not just because she's a female either. Like I said, she has her own personality, stuff like that. And she has a compelling backstory as well. When she got caught up from with the TVA, there wasn't really like a valid reason of why she was taken. At least as far as I've seen. I don't know if it was elaborated in the show, but like it wasn't really clear if there was a reason, but like it implied that she was taken for no reason at all, and she ended up running away and doing her own schemes and trying to figure out a way to pretty much get rid of the TVA for good. So on that level, I did find her compelling, and I did like the chemistry that she had with Loki. It was a little rough at first because it's the whole "I can't stand you, I can't believe I'm dealing with you. Oh my god, I'm the better Loki. Stop calling me Loki." But as the show went on, they started to form a better bond and better chemistry. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say something. So Sylvie saved this show for me. That was the moment I knew I was safe. At first I was sketchy about her character because I was like, okay, it's just a female variant of Loki. And then I liked what they did with her being individual despite expectations, which is about the show, which ties to the theme again of fighting fate and being more than what you're determined to be. But Sylvie, as much as I like Sylvie, she raises a problem with the show for me, actually. And this is jumping ahead a little bit, but the fight scenes in the show feel really contrived because I think Loki should be more of a trickster. And this could have really been the Marvel show that had like the lead. It still has a low amount of action compared to the other two shows. But I actually thought that this show really could have like either done away with the fighting altogether, so we could have had like a really like more significant, compelling drama, which I know is heretical considering it's a Marvel property and you got to have action in there. But I personally was like, you could transcend this and be the one that just does it. But that aside, I think that it would have been more interesting if, since Loki was in these fights, I would have liked if they made it so Loki didn't fight in this series, and it was just Sylvie being the one that's the more physically engaging one. and that could have further diversified her. Like, they could have further removed her character from Loki and made him a bit stronger, in my opinion.
Actually,
I
didn't
think
think about that. Actually, didn't think about that. That's a good point.
I really feel like Sylvie is a great character. Again, for me, all the parts that like all the like don't call me Loki, that stuff actually kind of hit home. I was like, I understand. I really like this idea of you're being packaged up a certain way and being told to be a certain way, and here is like because everyone's identifying her the Loki variant and nothing more when she is more, and I liked that. That's the thrust of her character. I really like the arc for her. And yeah, I just think that this show, because I don't buy Tom Hiddleston's even as a god lanky ass fighting. I just can't buy it. I could not buy any of the fight scenes. And so I really was like, okay, make Sylvie like an Assassin's Creed type, like bopping people off left and right type, or like make her, yeah, if she is gonna be like the more physically engaging one because she seems like the more violent of the two. I would have liked if Loki was like the assassin type, like he should be, like how he always leans in everything else, instead of taking people in straight fights. And Sylvie's just the, I'm gonna punch you. You're not gonna see it coming, and it's gonna hurt. I would have liked that for her, and I think that would have helped her feel a bit more different. Not that it crippled her character. Like she really does have enough as is, but for me who didn't like the fighting of the show and I like the action set pieces of like the apocalypses going on. I liked those. I think the show could have used those in place of fighting more because I love seeing these worlds fall apart. With her, I'm like, if you are gonna have fight scenes, I think she should have had more center stage moments. But yeah, I love Sylvie. She's one of my favorite characters in the Marvel universe as a whole. Like she shot up there real fast for me.
Oh, I forgot you didn't watch Black Widow because I would say better than Florence Pugh.
Wait, what?
I would say Florence Pugh stole the movie. Anyway, go ahead, close it.
Oh yeah, so I mean, I agree with that. I did really like Sylvie's character. Kind of like what you said. I do like that she was when she was first introduced, like, don't call me Loki. I'm not a Loki. 'Cause in my mind, that struck me as you ended up in this multiverse, or in like the center of a multiverse, essentially, after getting your whole world robbed away. Up until that point, you think that you are unique. You think that, I am, the Loki. There's nothing else like me. And then you find out, nope, there's like timelines upon timelines of you. They prune people like you left and right. So then it's like, well, okay, like I'm to kind of preserve my identity. No, that's not who I am. And I liked that. As far as like the whole fighting thing, I did like how she, seemed a lot more accustomed, especially to fighting TVA agents, just because it's implied that she's been doing this since she was a kid. So it's like, okay, she's obviously grown a lot more accustomed to it. With Loki, I agree. I can never really take him seriously in a fight, though I don't think we're really supposed to, because up until like the first Avengers movie, he hasn't really fought too much. He's been more the member of the royal family that kind of sits up there with Odin and like occasionally goes on like some sort of hijinks with like his brother,
and he'll stab you in the back if you're not paying attention.
yeah, like he's not used to a head-on fight. That's not his specialty. I mean, he's definitely not built for that. But but refocusing back on Sylvie, I really liked her character. I liked how they developed her. I loved the reveal of, this Loki variant is, a female Loki. It's not, just another Tom Hiddleston or whatever, or, some other interpretation of Loki that you might know. It's something different entirely. Which
take notes, Flash.
Right? Oh boy, let's that's a thing.
We'll get to Flash eventually.
We'll get to Flash eventually, yes.
Yeah, DC fandom was a That was interesting.
That was interesting.
It sure was something.
Yeah.
Huh?
It sure was something, all right.
Oh yeah, it was something. I liked most things there, but
Yeah.
but no, yeah. Talking about Sylvie, I just, I did really like her. She was, I mean, she was either my favorite character or she might have been my second favorite. I honestly just really liked the character of characters of B-15 and then Owen Wilson's character. But she's either my favorite character or like neck and neck for that spot.
So I guess there's like one specific detail that they addressed in the show that everyone is like going, well, I wouldn't say going crazy over, but people were talking about this. So they revealed that Loki is a member of the LGBT community.
Well, he always was.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of always was, both in like mythology and just in general. I don't know why that had to be a huge reveal, really, on like social media and everything. But
well, I think for me, so a part of why I like Sylvie's character was that. So, if I might dig into my background as somebody who has that gender studies degree, but I think with Sylvie and like her struggle, particularly being about like I'm not this, like all the societal expectations and stuff, which still ties into the greater themes of like determinism. I feel like the show was trying to aim at an LGBT fan base a little bit, like a nod to that community, because of, like, I feel like they wanted to like talk about that struggle in a more abstracted way with Sylvie, where they're like, people keep calling me a Loki, and that feels like an analogous to like the common social thing of misgendering. That feels very analogous to that for me, where it's like I might look like this on the outside, or in Sylvie's case, I might be labeled this on the outside, but this is what I actually am. I'm Sylvie. I'm not Loki. That feels very. Like, I feel like the show wanted to go into those themes, because I don't know much about the director of the show. I know she like talked about wanting to explore that type of stuff. So I appreciate that after the show, but I'm like, but I was like, why did they do a big reveal for this? Because it should be a mundane thing. I think it should be taken for granted. I mean, Loki fucks a horse in mythology. We gotta talk about this.
Yeah, I mean I agree. I mean, I feel like it shouldn't have been like a big deal. Like I feel like when it comes to Loki, that's kind of like inevitable. It's just part of what Loki is. Like Loki does what Loki does. But
yeah, like I agree as well. I'm 100% fine with it. And as I said, it's part of mythology anyway, of the the actual lore of Loki. So I was fine with them incorporating it in here. I just, as you guys said, I just don't know why people were making this such a big deal. I mean, I know the community wants more representation when it comes to media, which I agree. I do feel like we should try to incorporate some more representation naturally, slowly, so it won't feel forced or in your face. But just they didn't really make it a big deal in the show. Maybe they'll explore it more in season 2. But
I honestly like that they didn't make it a big deal in the show, because that's how you should do representation. It should just be a quiet thing. Not like it should be quiet always, because sometimes you want to tell a story that is strictly about that. But I'm like, Loki being gender fluid doesn't really like he's a transform. I was gonna say he's a transformer, but no, that's not the word I want to use here. But Loki is like, he can turn into whatever he wants. Of course, this is, again, like I said, this is a natural. This is obviously what you label this person as, and that's what the people in the community, the people in the LGBTQ community, like, because I'm in those spaces on the internet, like I'm on Tumblr. I actually did clap back at Disney for this, against what Disney clearly was intending, because they thought that the show was gonna pander. Because that's what it was. Disney did the usual, we've got another gay character thing, which that feels disingenuous, that feels hollow. And with Loki, we got an actually pretty decent, like, again, with Sylvie's struggle, you have a really decent metaphor for like identity and gender and trans stuff. And with Loki, you have a character who is explicitly gender fluid. But that's not the crux of, that's not all Loki is. Loki's a trickster. Loki's a villain. These are things that matter more. So you actually had good representation of the show, and I just think they marketed it really horribly. Like, I think that should not have been the big woohoo of this show's marketing. I think they really could have leaned into like any of the aspects of the show, like the idea of both the Lokis, like all the fun stuff that they do, the cosmic horror bits later. But leaning into I would have liked it if it was a nice surprise and it was a bit more subtle.
Yeah, I mean I agree. That's whenever it feels like whenever Disney does this kind of stuff, it feels disgenuine. I mean, what was the movie Onward?
Yep.
Yeah, when they did. When they did that.
Like, well, Disney has Owl House, which that's their first cartoon that explicitly got a lesbian couple. So I'm like, I know Disney has, because these writers are they work for the company, but they're not the company. So these writers probably do have genuine intentions, but the Disney executives go, we see dollar signs in marketing to this demographic.
Yeah,
So
I mean, like,
earnest thing and make it into this bonanza.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they don't, like, I feel like they don't realize that, like, people are past the whole, like, there was a time when, like, pandering in that way would have been like, oh, this is cool, but it's way past that now, and, Disney just kind of sees that as like, oh, dollar signs, we can appeal to a, wider audience, we can, do X, Y, and Z if we, make it a huge, big deal, even at times when maybe it shouldn't, when maybe it should be a more subtle thing. But I mean, at times, yes, it should be a big thing at times. But with Loki, it definitely wasn't one of those times.
Yeah, I think it's like what you're saying is like there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes the big loud gay story, and sometimes we don't. Not every queer story needs to be like Rent. Sometimes it just could be a queer person chilling, which is how real life works. Sometimes there'd just be a queer person chilling, doing other things. And that's what I think Disney misses the mark for this show, is that they really leaned. Because that's the thing I saw on Tumblr. Because they had that scene where they were like gender, like I forgot what they say explicitly in the show for like on the file, but they're like gender fluid, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice Easter egg if you just kind of left that there, but they literally sent it around on Twitter and made it a big deal, and then people who wanted a more explicitly gay story, i.e. people who shipped Owen Wilson and Loki, which I don't understand, but
what?
If you do ship that, well, I think that's a real community, buddy. People wanted Mobius Loki to fuck.
I get it, but
I listen. I understand people will ship anything, but I'm just upset because I'm like, can we not, fellas? But
shipping is the new cool thing.
Yeah, well, those people wanted an explicitly queer relationship. Like, they wanted that, and they didn't get that. So I'm like, see, with this marketing, you didn't appeal to like people you didn't appeal to the more critical or like more down to earth queer folks that just wanted a like passive thing because you made it into a big deal. So now it feels disingenuous, and you don't appeal to the people that are into the loud and out stuff because they didn't deliver on that either. So it's just, you're left in the middle with a show that really should have just kind of like left everything in as Easter eggs and passive, and we would have had a nice metaphor with Sylvie, but now it's like muddled by marketing, and I dislike that immensely.
I feel like Disney doesn't really understand how to go about introducing LGBT characters in movies or shows.
Gay characters. That's my favorite thing, is Disney, every single Disney movie, first gay character. And I'm like, this is the 5th time I've seen this article.
Yeah, and like they don't do anything in the movie. Like, so why do you need to announce this?
There's one scene or like one moment, like it's like the kiss at Star Wars. Like, it upset a lot of people, I know, but like okay, you guys should be upset about that. It was literally in the background. Nobody made a big deal out of it, but Disney did. They were like, gay scene in Star Wars. It was like, it was a literal kiss in the background of a post fight sequence.
I mean, sorry to cut you off, but that's the same thing as like I was saying with Onward. They made like all these big social media posts like, yeah, we've got this character and here they got like one line.
Yeah.
That was.
It's like they still give them like one line because it feels like they're slightly aware that people will still be upset. So it's like, what? Like, what are you doing, Disney?
like they put the character on the poster, and it was like, oh man, like this character probably has a huge part. They get one line, 1 second.
Like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, my bit is Disney does have good representation in, again, I think Loki explores those themes without crossing into it too hard. I think, again, Owl House, fantastic representation. They don't, again, that's why they don't advertise that show so much, because it doesn't fit in. And it's very explicitly gay. It has a lot of stuff in there that feels genuine and earnest and is upfront. But you don't see that show get advertised for that reason. And you have other Disney shows that try to nod at that and get canceled, like Gravity Falls tried to do something and got canceled. So Disney is just their queer representation as the company, like Disney as a company, they're very corporate and executive about queer stuff. That's the simplest way I could put it. They're just very executive about it.
Well, yeah, though at the same time, you've got companies that can be executive about it and be fine, like, like Cartoon Network. But,
yeah,
Disney hasn't, what's the term I'm looking for? They haven't really caught that, I guess, nuance yet to be able to really pull that off.
The nuance, that's
what
they lack nuance, and they lack the ability to, like, it's like they're not in tune with the audience that appreciate it. Like, it's literally just misunderstanding dad as a company, where it's just
I think the way we can really put it is Disney approaches this subject the same way that Nintendo approaches online interaction.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's so true though.
It is. That's why it's an accurate comparison.
Oh god. Well, I just got one thing to I just got one thing to say to Disney. Be very, very careful if you're trying to do that for Frozen 3. Be very, very careful, because I keep hearing rumblings around here and there. Just be very, very careful, because that's one of your most lucrative franchises ever. So if you're
look, I feel like with that, if they did that, like, kind of going off on that small tangent, they could do that. The pieces are in place to do that. However, I feel like Disney's gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
Like, the pieces are already there. They can do it. They can do it successfully. They can do it well. It could be well received, but they're gonna mess it up. They're gonna mess it up. They're gonna be like, oh, it's Elsa and so, and then, the so-and-so in question is gonna, like, appear for like a second.
All right, well, that's our thoughts on that one thing. So another thing we haven't really talked about, I mean, I don't know if there's much to say about this character, the holographic clock lady. I think she has a name, I forgot what it is. She's voiced by Tara.
TVA Vault Boy.
Yeah. Voiced by Tara Strong. So, like, oh, sweet, Tara.
I do like Tara Strong.
Yeah. Yeah, she's cool. She was I don't know. I feel like I have to say something about it, because people were making her a big deal online. She's definitely there to sell merchandise. She's literally a walking toy, like. But I mean, she was cool. It was kind of funny. I guess fit with the, like, old school aesthetic of the TVA, I guess. She did play kind of a significant role by the end, so that's cool. She's not just, there to just be, just to look cute or whatever. But yeah, okay, that's what I gotta say about that. You guys have any thoughts about the holographic clock lady?
I mean,
Vault Boy.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically just TVA Vault Boy. The way I think of it is, like, Disney, it seems like with all of their IPs, with all of their, movies and shows that they do, they feel the main character has to have, or the main cast have to have, like, a cute, approachable, marketable companion. You got Olaf, you got BB-8/R2-D2, you got the little, like, dog thing in like Onward. I forget what it was, but
Yeah, and then in Shang-Chi they had like those headless furry creatures with wings as well.
Yeah. No, you gotta have a marketable character. I would not be surprised if they try to like pump out a bunch of merchandise of this in like Disney World or something like that, because it is just Disney's Vault Boy at that point. It's just
we wanted the 1950s aesthetic, or sorry, we wanted the 1950s market aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I think with this, so for me with this character, I like the moment where she gets kind of sinister and starts hiding shit, and she's like, "It's gonna take me forever to find that file." Yep, taking me a real long time. That moment was really funny.
You guys remember that jump scare that she did? But in the end, I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
I mean, I like it because again with the shows, admittedly nonsensical but cool, lean into the aesthetic. She does fit. I like her being a little like cutesy clock, and I just think that you're right. She's just a toy. She like I can see myself going to Disney World and like it's like my girlfriend's with me and I'm at the crane game and I just see this clock and I'm like, oh, I want to win this prize. Like,
yeah, no, Disney saw that like, you know, Toy Story ended and they made like Andy in that in that little dream sequence. Just, I don't want to play with you anymore. You don't need something else marketable.
Oh my god. Okay, so let's talk about the other Loki variants. With the Black Loki, Kid Loki, Alligator Loki, Classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant. You got Richard E. Grant in a Marvel show. Nuts. But that was
I'm ashamed to admit, I don't know who he is.
Huh?
I don't know who Richard E. Grant is.
Oh man.
I didn't get the hype. I liked him as the classic Loki, but I was like, I know what he's famous for. I feel bad. I feel uncultured.
Oh my god. Well, he's in Game of Thrones. Everyone loves him in Game of Thrones.
Ah, okay. I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, me neither. I think he was in Logan as well. I think I remember seeing him in Logan. I forgot who he was. But yeah, so that was one of my favorite parts of the show is seeing all the Loki variants. I wish the show used them more, because they were pushing that a lot in the marketing, President Loki and all this other stuff. So like I thought that was going to be a big bulk of the show, but they just have really like one episode dedicated to them. So it's like, okay, it's fine, whatever. But when it's revealed that the timekeepers are fake, they're robots. And then those like staff incinerator things that the TVA officers use, Ravonna uses it on Loki, and we're thinking, well, nobody thought they were gonna just kill Loki like that, first of all. So that wasn't really a surprise. Like, that must be teleporting him somewhere else, right? And yes, it did. It teleported him to the Prune. Oh, stupid name. It's this whole land where all these other variants, where they don't know what to do with these variants. They just send them to this random wasteland to wait to be killed by this giant cloud called
which is literally the hippo from
whatever.
The Giant Peach.
Sorry, what'd you say?
It's literally the hippo from James the Giant Peach. It's like the exact thing.
You know what? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it struck me as like a combination of that and like that big mechanical monster thing from 9.
Yep. It was those two put together. Disney was like, wow, that thing from James the Giant Peach really traumatized a lot of children. Should bring that back.
Yeah. We need to make it look sinister, though. Hey, what did that thing look like from 9 again?
9. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think his name is Alistair or Alistor. I don't know if I know it, but I like that it was just destroying stuff. That was sick.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something like I like the tone of the show. oscillates between being really funny and like really dark. And Alistar to me is like the epitome of that, where it's like funny as hell for like a second until it actually gets stuff, and like that entire ship gets destroyed by this cloud. I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a little kind of ridiculous until there was the implication of, oh, well, this thing's constantly moving. That implies that these Lokis have had to move from place to place constantly.
Mm-hmm.
They're all sprinting and tricking each other constantly.
Right.
And I like that I like that classic Loki did the most Loki thing of all, which is you're a trickster up until it counts, and then you do the right thing in the end.
Yeah.
And I like that was the most Loki a Loki could be for that moment. He was like the strongest one.
Yeah, no, he's Loki Prime.
He really was.
Definitely. But yeah, I pretty much like the insanity of just all these Lokis like fighting each other. Like when they go to their little hideout or whatever, the President Loki and a bunch of other variant Lokis that follow him, like they all get into this fight or whatever, like, and then like Alligator Loki bites off President Loki's hand and stuff like that. I was like, this is so insane.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's great. But yeah, once again, it's just really interesting. You know, we got, regular Loki, 2012 Loki, we got a female Loki, we got a black Loki, we got a kid Loki, we got an alligator Loki, we got a President Loki. I want to see President Loki's timeline. How did that happen? First of all, Loki becoming president, like, that's freaking
man, 2 words, man. Lex Luthor.
Yes. Please make a what if episode on that. What would be interesting, because it's not really spoilers for what if, but in one of the episodes there's actually a timeline where Steve Rogers is trying to be elected as president. So if there was an episode where it was Steve Rogers versus Loki to become president, I would love to see that. That'd be so cool.
What if Loki won the 2020 election?
Oh boy. Oh boy. But yeah, that was great. So Sylvie and Mobius.
Party of all the Ragnarok party.
Say that again.
I make a joke about the election thing. I was like, the greatest party of all, the Ragnarok party. But what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I did not like that Thor episode in What If. But anyway. Anyway, Sylvie and Mobius end up getting sent to the prune as well. And so they all work together to stop the giant cloud thing. Well, I don't know if exactly did they destroy it? I don't think they actually destroyed it. I think they just
what Sylvie does is she does the empathy link with it, and it gets it to like chill out and stop eating shit once because the big Loki had to do something to it to like make it vulnerable, so that way they could get a hold of it and then open that shit up. And so then they got to go to the He Who Remains place. It was I don't remember if it was like inside of it or like it was almost I feel like it was like surrounding or like showing them how to get there. I don't remember if it was like showing them how to get there or it was the way there. Because that would be cool if it was like an eldritch location where it's like, no, this monster is how you get to He Who Remains. You have to crawl inside of it and get in there. But yeah, that's how they dealt with it. Was they basically got it to cool off for a second, or like old Loki dies, sacrifices himself to it because they can eat and feed, and then they get in.
Yeah. And as you were talking about before, I really liked the classic Loki's final moments when he literally creates a projection of Asgard to distract the evil cloud. I thought that was a really cool moment. Never expected Richard E. Grant to do something like that, but he sold it, man. He sold it. Okay, so now we get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. Well, I wouldn't say the meat and potatoes because like there was other stuff that happened, but like the probably the most important thing that happened in this show. Okay, so there were a lot of theories going into this show about King the Conqueror. Up until this point, I was sick of hearing theories of these shows because the theories I've heard about WandaVision didn't happen. Theories about Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't happen. So I'm not expecting the same thing to happen with Loki with all these theories going around. King the Conqueror, I was waiting to see King the Conqueror in the MCU, but I had no idea how they would even introduce them. Was he even in the plans after Thanos? Who knows? But it would make the most sense because they're introducing multiverse stuff, so this would be a perfect time to introduce him. I did not expect him to show up in Loki, though. I thought they were going to save him for a movie. We know he's going to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So I did not expect for them to have him show up earlier than that, let alone Loki. When Jonathan Majors showed up, I freaked out. They don't call him Kang. Yet he is the one who knows all. But yeah, but we all knew it's Kang the Conqueror. It's Kang the Conqueror because he was
He who remains. That's who it is. It's he who remains.
He who remains. I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, we all knew it was Kang the Conqueror because Jonathan Majors was casted as Kang a long time ago. But yeah, I was actually really happy. I did not expect for them to pull the trigger with him this early. So it turns out that he is the one that's responsible for the TVA. Like the TVA, I mean, it's not like a full-on facade because, you know, it still had a purpose with making sure the timeline is in check for the most part, but like it's not mainly them watching everything. It was him the entire time. So he gives out this whole exposition dump about where he came from. Like he was in his own timeline. Well, there's like different variants of him. And one of them discovered that there are other universes stacked on top of his, and eventually the other timelines met each other, and there was a time they were all living in harmony and sharing resources and stuff like that. But of course, there has to be one variant that, you know, that wants power and eventually wants to take over the other timelines. And so it eventually led to this multiversal war between all the different variants of Kang and their dimensions. And then it eventually led to Kang finding the evil death cloud, whatever, and using that to restore order to all the timelines. And that's how he created this whole system. So now that Sylvie and Loki are there, he knew that they were going to be there at some point. Like he knew this whole, like all the events leading up to this point, he knew it was going to happen. So he gives Sylvie and Loki a choice to either kill him and take over the Time Variance Authority, you know, so pretty much, you know, substitute him and do his job and make sure all the timelines are in order, or just let all the timelines branch out into different, you know, into different timelines or whatever. Everything will go awry and there will be a bunch of variants of Kang that is invading a whole bunch of timelines, and you're going to see him multiple times. And like there's some that may be okay, but there will be a lot more that are not so okay. So we get to this point where there's a choice that Sylvie makes that kind of upset me. So she ends up killing Kang and pretty much creating the multiverse. And Kang invading the other timelines. And look, I understand she has a vendetta against the TVA, which now ends up it's actually Kang's fault, kind of. So I know she's dealing with, you know, she's dealing with turmoil. She's dealing with this pent up revenge and frustration with, you know, her being taken away from her timeline. But, you know, it just frustrated me that she wasn't able to, you know, just take into account the bigger ramifications of her actions, you know. Like, there's no reason for Kang to lie about all this stuff happening. And it's like she was just so blinded by revenge. And it just kind of frustrated me that this moment right here is the cause of the multiverse going awry. That's what they're implying. You know, this is their branching off point for the MCU movies and shows up to this point. This is the branching off point of them doing multiversal stuff. And for me, this is a similar issue that I had with Ravonna in the show, that they're not listening to reason at that point. So that just really felt forced, especially when Loki and Sylvie start fighting with each other. And it's like, I don't know, you know, I was just really frustrated that just the way they executed that, you know. I know it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. It had to happen some way. But for me, that felt a bit contrived and forced for me. I was really liking Sylvie up until that point. So I don't know. I just felt icky about it, kind of. But anyway, what did you guys think about Kang's explanation, how the multiverse is branching out at this point, Sylvie's decision to kill Kang? How did you guys feel about that overall?
So I'm not really familiar with Kang as a character. Like my dad is the one who knows a bit more about Marvel stuff than I do. So he explained that a bit to me. But I know for me that, like, I just, in this moment, this writing, which is it's such a critique I have of the show, is that all of the stuff that ties into the themes of determination and how your life's being controlled by writers and stuff, or these characters are being controlled by the writers and their influences, all of that really culminates with Kang here being like, yeah, I'm the guy that writes this universe. I'm basically God. I am the Marvel writers of the show. Like, it feels like it's all pouring in together here. Like, it's where everything ties together thematically. One of the issues I had is the writing of the show feels a bit too on the nose. So, like, I have it written down in my notes here. There's a line he says that literally felt like I was getting punched in the face with the brick that said metaphor. And I was just upset because I was like, no, we write our own destiny. That's what it was. I think it's Loki that said that line in response to him. He's like, we write our own destiny. And I was like, this feels very on the nose. And it feels like I wrote in my notes here, it feels like the writer of the show is the final, it feels like the writer's the final boss of the show. And now they've unlocked access to the post-game DLC content where it's like, here's the multiverse stuff now that you killed Kang. I actually like the scene with Sylvie because I did like that. That's how, again, they differentiate her from Loki, is that Loki has a brain and thinks for a second. And like Sylvie is so like charged that she just ends him. And that was satisfying. I wanted him gone too. I was like, you were too smug for your own good. Get him.
But the thing is, he's not going to be gone. There's going to be more of him now.
More of him. And so now I'm like, I just can't wait to see his smug ass get kicked over and over again. I still win. But no, I liked that he feels like the will of the writers coming through and being like, now all these realities that like happen in the comics, that because people get frustrated with Marvel Comics for their branching paths, and with the show What If, we now get to explore this. It feels like we've uncapped this arc, and now the beginning of this greater universe can start. And now they're trying to prime people for, we're gonna have like another series of films that like maybe in the future we'll do remakes of the films. Like, it feels like Disney is priming us for MCU stuff to just get weird and change, and that's okay. I was always ready for this road, but this is what this character is. It's just. It feels like the writers themselves made a avatar and was like, I'm controlling your destiny, bro. Oh no, I can't see what happens next. for some reason, and I'm pretty sure they're going to answer that later. I'm pretty sure because I know it ties into the determinism of the show where they're like they got to pick their own fate out. Sylvie did what was against expectations, which I mean personally, my thought is that Kang intentionally wanted this to happen. I feel like him being like, oh, I don't know what happens next. That's crazy. Feels like he shows it. I know he does show like the paper. Like he might not be bluffing, but because he's like, I want a break. Give me a break. Kill me. I feel like that's very much like him wanting to let the wolves out. Like, oh, this will be fun. You're just gonna see more of me. Like as you mentioned, there's just gonna be more of me everywhere. You'll never stop seeing me. And then the first thing that happens is Loki wakes up in a TVA filled with Kang.
Yeah, that Kang statue at the end. I'm like, oh shit.
That was a big reveal. I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it's like when Mobius and B-15 when Loki is trying to warn about what happened, and then they're like, who are you? I'm like, oh no. It's like, oh no, it already happened. It already happened.
It's caused an irreversible ripple, and I feel like that's how Disney's probably also going to get actors back in, because if like I know, like if people really want Tony Stark back, it's possible.
No, please don't do that. No.
No, you know they are.
Please don't.
You know it's gonna be like, oh, we got alternate universe Tony Stark played by Brad Pitt. Like it's gonna be that. It's gonna be Robert Downey Jr. is just back. It's gonna be something like that.
Oh God, no death matters in the MCU.
That's the problem.
Congratulations, the MCU is now Dragon Ball.
Oh
yes!
No! God damn it!
I as I said on the Star Wars podcast, I love anime.
right.
Let's just start having power level duels where Captain America runs into a literal
the power level of my arc reactor is higher than yours.
Dude, Star Wars is already an anime. Now Marvel's becoming an anime. Like,
listen, we're just one step away from Marvel Visions happening.
Thanos,
God.
what does the scouter say about his power?
I mean, What If was like a step in the door. It's like, oh, people are liking What If. Oh, let's take it farther. Anime.
They're like, oh, you guys like animated MCU?
Oh, that's crazy! Wow, that's and we know that like demographically, you overlap with the Star Wars base, and y'all really seem to like Visions a lot, which I started, by the way. Visions is very good so far. I'll save that for the Visions episode. Oh, that's my foreshadowing.
We will talk about that, definitely.
Another time. Well, I'm gonna say, because I have a lot of good fuzzy feelings for that show, but but that's a spoiler alert for that review when that comes. I'm excited about that because I'm still watching it, but my notes are ready. But
episode 6.
Yeah, me too. Ooh. Yeah. No, save it for this. I gotta hold back. But no. So with this ending though, I really liked basically he hit them with the same energy as Thanos' "I am inevitable" line, except literally he was just like,
he meant it.
He means it. Thanos, we got one of the Thanos. No, we got infinite numbers of him coming.
You could say over 9,000 Kang.
Oh my God. It just doesn't. It doesn't end. It doesn't end.
The DNA of the soul. God. I enjoyed the ending quite a bit, and I just like how thematically it puts a little nice bow on this story about how you gotta go against expectations, because in the end, Loki finally showing his character development like manifest. Really tried to persuade Sylvie to do the right thing. It's not a trick, it's not a gambit, and I liked that. And unfortunately, that does take away from what I feel like Loki should be at heart, the trickster. But I think that's the point, is that now we're opened up to a Loki that could be whatever Loki wants and needs to be. We might.
Yeah.
I like that. It allows Loki to be heroic now because the premise of the show was that Loki can never be heroes. They're always villains. They're always tricksters. And then here's Sylvie and Loki, both more complicated than this timeline will allow for them to be. At the end, complicating things one last time, and tricking the whole timeline into not existing and being scattering the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Their final magic trick was to create the multiverse, and I appreciated that. I felt like this was a nice, neat little bow on the story.
Yeah, I liked it. Honestly, like the only thing that I really feel like I need to speak about at this point is the whole thing with like Sylvie essentially bringing about this whole, for lack of a better term, calamity. I mean, it's like it feels fitting that like Loki, the god of mischief would be the one to kind of do that. It's like I feel like even though Loki is taking on more of like a heroic thing, a heroic timeline, a heroic path, whatever you want to call it, like Loki as a villain is not and will not ever be the big bad. They're more the thing that brings about the big bad. And
yeah, I can see that. So yeah. So 2 questions. 1, what do you guys expect for season 2? And then 2, do you ever see this version of Loki meeting Thor again?
So I mean, as far as what I expect from season 2, I mean, I more or less expect to see just Loki, like, I mean, more just trying to, I guess, attempt to rectify things, even though he's inevitably not going to be able to. As far as him meeting up with Thor, I feel like that will happen. I feel like that's going to be something where he ends up meeting a sort of variant of Thor. Like the way I imagine this whole thing ending is Loki essentially just resigning to just go into hiding and meeting up with a variant of Thor at that point.
So you don't think it's going to be Love and Thunder Thor?
No. I think it's going to be like actual Thor, but a variant of like our current Thor. Perhaps one that ended up just going to rule Asgard after Loki died in the Dark World, or something like that.
Okay. What about you, Beef?
All right, so for season 2, I expect I gotta go with Costa's prediction. Like I think that's just gonna unfold. Like I just know thematically though, I think that's gonna be a more depressed because so just to highlight the tone of the show, the first episode ends with a lot of people on fire and burning to death, and I feel like season 2 is gonna have more of that dark energy going through it, where it's just going to be even heavier and more defeatist. Like, I feel like Loki starts off in a fucked up situation. It's going to get worse. So I feel like it's going to be a darker show, season 2. If I had to guess, it's going to be a lot more grim. And I like that. I think that we need a Marvel show to be depressing and very wacky and cosmic horror-y. And I like that Loki fills in that niche. Or we'll fill that niche in, because I do like to explore those parts of Marvel stories, because Marvel goes into all kinds of genres. So having a dark cosmic fantasy story with Loki is pretty interesting to me. In terms of if I see this Loki meeting Thor, I'm not sure if they'd ever do if they do that. I'm not sure how, because I think they're going to want to keep the main film's timelines very clean, I imagine, because those, you really don't want your audience, like, I feel like the most we'd ever get is a nod where, okay, so the best example I can think of, like, what I can imagine for this Loki appearing is, if you've ever seen the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films, how Leonard Nimoy's Spock popped up in that, where it's like, it's going to be a scene where Thor gets thrown somewhere else and then runs into this Loki, who's like reflective and like, I was wrong, dude.
Mm.
And then Thor would either like have a revelation from this, or like be happy to see his brother again, but be confused and like presume it's a trick or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like it's gonna be like the crux of anything. Like I don't know if he's gonna run into Love and Thunder Thor.
Mm.
I feel like it's just gonna be like this alternate timeline version of your sibling, who is alive, is here, and you can say hi, but the people wouldn't know where he came from if they haven't watched the show. Which is and the thing is that I think Disney is not ready to take that gamble yet. They've got like 100% like watch rate from like this show to the movies.
Yeah, like I feel like unless they, want to have Loki be the one that brings King the Conqueror into like the main, timeline, I feel like they're not really gonna have him interact with like our main timeline too much. Like he's just, it feels a lot like this show is inconsequential for the most part when it comes to like the main timeline. Like besides the whole like introduction of Kang and everything.
I mean, unless it causes a ripple effect and then X-Men just pop up.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
No
King
more
the Conqueror
humans
brought about
affected
the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
They can't. Like, I just want them to get. I just want all of Marvel to be under the same cinematic roof.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they got those properties back. I just wish they'd exercise it now.
Oh, they will next
They
year.
will, but
Next year.
Feige already has his plan laid out. So it's like we'll get to them when we get there, but we're not just gonna stop everything. I
just want to see what MCU X-Men would be, because I really like the X-Men. That is.
Oh, I love it.
I don't.
You already saw it. Remember New Mutants?
No. fuck that Fox X-Men franchise. All of them, even the original ones, they sucked.
Why did you hurt me like that? I was having a great time with this podcast. I feel sick, guys. I gotta go home.
I will eventually talk about those. I will eventually talk about those X-Men films, but like, not. I will save that. I'll save that rant later, for a later time. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with X-Men and Fantastic Four. It's like I feel like they will be the ones to get them right when they eventually get here.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like we're probably gonna get Fantastic Four sooner rather than later. Just
they're the end of Phase 4. They're the end of Phase 4.
Well, right. Because we saw, at least I'm pretty sure that's who we saw in the Eternals trailer was Galactus.
No, that's Celestial.
That was Celestial. Okay, my Marvel knowledge is starting to like teeter off now. So
yeah, I don't blame you. Dude,
I'm limited. I thought that was Galacticus as well, because all I have to rely on is the game Marvel Ultimate Alliance, everything my dad told me, and everything my old roommates told me about comics.
I mean, I've only got the helmet shape to work off of.
I do follow Nova actively, so everything with that character.
I was like, dude, they wouldn't just casually be like, oh, there's Galactus right there. No, we're not gonna acknowledge it.
Right.
No, that's an event. That's an event.
Small potatoes, though, now, because like Thanos is bigger than Galacticus in terms of a threat. Because him eating a planet is not anywhere near as dire as your entire multiverse is fucked.
Right.
I mean, I mean, you're right about that. But as far as like important Marvel characters, like he's a big deal. There's Thanos, Doctor Doom, Galactus, Kang, like those, and Loki. Those are like the popular Marvel villains. Yeah.
Might be actually. It was interesting. Now that you mentioned that, I'm like, that might be how they resolve the Marvel power gap, quote unquote, where it's like the strength of each hero trying to resolve stuff. I'm like, I really do think that with Galacticus, that might be how they explain, like, oh, the new Avengers aren't quite up to the level of, like, the old ones. So Galacticus can be reintroduced because, they wouldn't be as strong as, like, Steve and Iron Man at their peaks. So that might be how they do that. Is they're like, oh, here's a planetary threat because we need to reintroduce people to these new characters.
Right.
Like, to the new series of Avengers. Ease them in.
Yeah, I am interested.
Unicron, right?
Oh, boy. I mean, even though I'm excited to see what they'll do with Galactus whenever they get to that, I'm scared of how they're gonna deal with this power level. Like, because I don't know if they can go 100% like the comics without losing some casual moviegoers. But it's like we don't want him to be nerfed so much where he doesn't feel as much of a threat as he should be. You know, it's the same thing with Apocalypse, though. I mean, anything will be better than what we got in X-Men Apocalypse, but it's like I'm wondering how they're going to deal with his power levels if they ever do that in the MCU as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Silver Surfer as well. Silver Surfer. But anyway, overall, I think this show is fine. Like I said, I think I ended up enjoying this a little bit more than the previous two, but like I don't think there are moments in this that really reached great for me. It's like it's okay to pretty good. So it stayed on a consistent level for me more than the previous two shows, but like even then I'm just like, I don't know. It's just not a show I really watch over and over again unless I need to be refreshed on events that'll happen in other Marvel movies, you know. But I'm glad I watched it. I did still like Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I liked what they did with him for the most part, even though we're slowly starting to get away from the villain aspect of him, but that's fine. I liked Sylvie. I liked Mobius, B-15. Thought they were interesting characters. Kang the Conqueror being introduced practically in the show. I was happy about that. There's some stuff, you know, just the rules with the TVA and stuff like that. I just feel are really inconsistent, so it was hard for me to really 100% come around to this show because of all the rules and stuff established with the TVA and eventually with Kang. But you know, the themes are still there, so there were still some compelling moments in the show. I guess I'm interested to see what they would do with a season 2. I did not expect for them to make this an ongoing series. I thought it'd just be a one-off, just like Falcon and Winter Soldier. And wait, are they doing another season of Falcon and Winter Soldier, or was that?
I don't know. I haven't.
No, at least not so far, because Loki's the first one of these Marvel miniseries to get a second season.
Okay, so yeah, I did not expect for them to do it for Loki because it felt like a one-off thing. But you know, we'll see what they do with season 2. But yeah, overall, I will say that Loki season 1 is pretty good. It's pretty good. Kosa,
where'd you go?
There we go. Okay, sorry, I was having trouble clicking on the unmute button. No, so I mean, I liked the show. It started off. I feel like it started off. It finished great. I'll say that, and it started off great, and it kind of, I feel like, kept the tone for a good amount of time. And there were a few times where like it kind of like lulled a little bit and sort of lost me. Which, I mean, I feel like every show does. It's kind of hard to like keep the same energy all the time for like several episodes at a time, several hour-long episodes at a time at that. But no, I mean, I liked it. You know, overall, if it was just like the beginning, the ending, and like some of the middle stuff, I probably would have given it like, you know, absolute masterpiece. But like, you know, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was, you know, overall, I would say I thought it was pretty good. I would certainly go back and watch it again a few times. It was definitely enjoyable.
All right, Beef.
So like I said earlier, I wanted to hate this show. I really wanted to pick on it a lot. I grew to like it. I feel a little burned out by Marvel stuff because it's so much of it. But despite that, the show, for me, on my scale, it gets it pretty good. It's like a 7, 8-ish territory. I don't like it more than WandaVision because I think that was more captivating, and I don't like it more than Winter Soldier because I think that felt more cohesive. But this feels really good. My roommate, by the way, hey buddy, if you happen to be listening to this, but he yesterday I was talking to him about the show, and he like laughed at me because he was like, "I knew you'd like this," and I was like, "Damn it, you're right, I did like it." Because I was really critical at first. Like he watched me start off grumpy and then get happier, and then by like the fourth episode, start to like enjoy it. So yeah, I think the show is pretty good overall. I think it's worth a watch. I don't know if I'll rewatch this show. There might be moments I'd like to go back and revisit, but I can't see myself revisiting this whole show.
Okay. Well, that is our thoughts on Loki season 1. What did you guys think about it? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? Comment below and let us know. So the next thing Marvel related we'll talk about is either Shang-Chi or What If. I don't know which one's going to come out first, but either one of those, that'll be the next ones we talk about MCU wise, so tune in for those when it comes out. And then also related to Marvel, but it's not MCU related, I am going to talk about all the Spider-Man films before Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, and also want to do a review for Venom Let There Be Carnage as well. So those should come out in the near future as well. But if you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified on future videos I'll be doing. Don't forget to follow the Cosign Nations channel and follow Beef's stuff as well, Beefalo stuff as well. Leave their information in the description as well so you guys can follow them. But that is all we have for you Marvel fans, and we will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.